when you have too much enthusiasm, think you can take on the whole world. That's a big mistake. Because I'm trying to do a lot of things simultaneously and expecting to have 100% success in everything. Because I'm getting less rest, sleep, because I'm trying to have this business and this business and try to succeed in this. And, you know, you remember to eat and do laundry at the same time and then other stuff as well. So that's a big mistake. You have to really plan everything better than I do. So don't do that mistake. Don't try to do everything at once. Do one thing at a time, one step at a
time. Welcome to the GTA Advisors Podcast. We interview Greater Toronto Area business owners, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders. Our goal is to bring Greater Toronto Area residents the best advice from our community's brightest minds. Now, here's your host, author, entrepreneur, and real estate innovator, Robert Caruso.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the GTA Advisors Podcast. I'm Robert Caruso. I'm here with Sergey Baskin. He's the owner of Ecotouch mobile car detailing. Serge is also an instructor for Krav Magen in the K.A.M.I method. So, Serge, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, very interesting line of work that you're in, and we'll get into that. So, first of all, maybe before we start, maybe let's talk about you, like your backstory. Like, where did you grow up? What do you do in your spare time? And what did you do before you started these two businesses?
I came to Canada like around a year ago. I'm a permanent resident. Before that, I came from Israel. I grew up in Israel. I grew up in the north of Israel, a city called Akko, the old city of Akko, which is 5,000 years old, if anyone knows. Beautiful place, beautiful market, a lot of interesting things to see, buy, experience. Before that, I worked as a security guard also in Israel. Worked in a few customer support services companies for phones, televisions. Meanwhile, also during that whole time, I was training. I was training since I was about a little kid, but specifically in Krav Maga, I started training since I was 15 till this very day, which is a lot already, 14 years. I have a lot to say about that. Furthermore, yeah.
So, I'm very, very excited to get into the Krav Maga. I mean, martial arts has always been something that I've always been interested in. I've actually done a little bit myself, but it's not my turn to talk. It's your turn to talk. So, how did you? Okay, so let's start with the Ecotouch mobile service. So, how did you become, like, how did you pick that as a career or a secondary career? Like, I mean, what brought that on?
Well, me and my friend were sitting and thinking, we always have a lot of big ambitions in life, want to succeed like everybody else, and we were young, no one has kids or family, so we were very devoted to succeed in life. So, and we decided to move to Canada as well, and we wanted to start a business. We said we had enough being working for somebody. We had enough. I mean, as long as you're working for someone, you're working for somebody else's money. So we were thinking, and we were trying to find a need, something that's particular to a culture where we're going to. And we noticed there's a lot of cars here, like really a lot of cars, like in Toronto. And somebody needs to clean all of them, we were thinking. And we were guessing, gosh, like almost every house we see there's like at least two cars with some. The mentality and the culture with cars that I see there's a big difference from Canada and Israel is that there are a lot of more, they're cheaper here. It's easier to get them. I mean, in Israel you have crazy taxes over them, so it's harder to come by. In Israel, everyone holds for their car for like 5 to 10 years. Here, everyone maybe 2 or 3 years you change your car. So we were thinking, let's clean cars, and what are we good at? We know how to give good customer service. So why not we're starting thinking, putting ideas together, and then let's go mobile and let's try it. We got a Dodge Caravan, bought a steam machine, and registered the business, and start hitting the road, going to places, cleaning people's car, and that's how we started basically.
Well, I think it's a fantastic idea because like we talked a little bit before we started the video, somebody could be at home drinking their coffee, watching their favorite TV show, or doing their work or whatever it is, or even at work, because you can do this from basically anywhere. And
Exactly.
while they're doing their thing, you're doing your thing, and they come out their car's perfectly clean. It's a great model, and you'll be cleaning both my cars, by the
Perfect.
way. So now maybe why don't we get into your more interesting career next? So how did that? I mean, obviously you started when you were very young, and how did you get into that? And explain a little bit about that. Like I said, martial arts is just something I'm very interested in. So let's hear about that.
Gladly. I'm guessing a lot of people have a small, maybe even a sad background story or how they started to train themselves. I think it goes back when I was a little kid, like maybe even 7 to 8 years old. I used to get bullied a lot. I think it's a common story for a lot of people who start this path. You get bullied a lot, and you had enough at a certain point. So I was get bullied a few times, got really bullied, like really bad. But since it was still a kid, so it wasn't that bad. Like wasn't injured or anything too tragic, But still, as a kid, it hurts your feeling. You cry. It's not nice to remember it as a bad experience. But if it's not one occasion, a few of those occasions, and it accumulates, and either it breaks you or it builds you. But even if it breaks you, make sure sometimes you have the right support to help you build yourself up. Because a lot of times in the army, they break you to build you, but they do it with you, so they help to remodel you again. So, but that's something regarding education. It's a totally different subject. But this is pretty much how I came to start training, because I had enough of bullying, and well, I grew up, started to get stronger and stronger, and the bullying stopped all by itself, actually, because people feel when you have confidence and feel when you're not playing around. It's like you're transmitting into the air. So thankfully, I didn't have to prove myself too much in the future. That time. So I think that's a common story for a lot of people. You get bullied, or something tragic happens, or well, that's not all cases. Some people just fell in love with it. Like also, I used to watch a lot of Bruce Lee movies. So it affects also. It doesn't have to be something tragic. Just I can fall in love with it since childhood. I have a lot of those stories as well. But also that was a combination for me. I think so, because I did love that. I also watched a lot of Van Damme movies when I was a kid. Kickboxer, famous one from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's the general idea.
So how did you find the method? I mean, obviously it's actually from Israel, correct? So,
Correct.
So how did you? I mean, I guess that's being from Israel. That's exactly where you're going to learn it from. But is there like how were you introduced to it?
To be honest, it was at school. I heard it from another kid when I was at school, that he signed up to some new form of some self-defense. I didn't know exactly what it was at first. I was just curious, actually. I really was curious and just happened to drop by and see, and I liked it since the first moment. A lot of people also hear about it from flyers and advertising. But biggest I think it's word to word, mouth to mouth word. Like
Yeah. Word of mouth is obviously the biggest way to spread the best news, and
yeah,
also the worst news too. But
exactly.
maybe I mean, obviously there's challenge. Everybody has challenges. So maybe you can what has been the biggest challenge with? Let's go to Ecotouch for a second. So what has been the biggest challenge with Ecotech and starting Ecotouch? Sorry, and starting that business.
Since I can say, having having taken everything into consideration the proper way at first, because everyone who starts a new business, a small business, a lot of times you miss few things, few details, you forget something. You might don't have all the information you need to progress. So do your homework right always. What the market needs, what do you need, how much financial spending will you have, and this in this period of time, like don't fall apart during the process, especially at start, because it can be hard. It will be hard. All beginnings are hard. But that's what defines us, our characters. See, if you fall down, and if you keep getting up, and trying to keep going forward, even if it's a small step each time.
And what about the Krav Maga now? Is that something that you're an instructor? You're the only registered Krav Maga instructor in Canada, correct?
There is another instructor from our association that actually recently also opened a little bit far away from me.
Okay.
But you can say, yeah, me and another guy, we are the only guys from our association qualified to instruct in our methods here.
And what about challenges with the training part of it? Obviously, listen, UFC is huge. I mean, who doesn't know what UFC is, and who doesn't follow it? Are there any Krav Maga experts in UFC that you know of, or?
I think there was once, but not that I know of today, because it's basically the technique. Krav Maga is pretty much prohibited in UFC. I can't do that.
I can imagine. I understand that.
Even if I'll be in my top shape or in my worst shape, doesn't matter. If you put me in a cage, I think I'll get demolished by each of. I'm not talking about the pros. General person who train all his life in UFC. The technique of the sparring is different, because when outside in the street, it's very different. What I mean, I'll give you an example. If it's in a cage and you have a referee and rules and gloves and you have safety incidents, very nice. I can play around. If I'm a UFC fighter, I can fool you. For example, I'm showing you I'm punching you, but I'm tricking you to open your guard, and then you have less of those things out the street. In the street, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty aggressive. People are usually very aggressive, will come at you with one blow. I'm not saying that you don't have professional fighters who can use their skills out the street. Of course, I'm trying to talk about the majority. Majority of people are not trained, so they will attack with rage a lot of time. What I mean with that they won't try to fool you around or trick you. They will hit you, will throw you with everything they got at the first hit. So the psychology of fighting in a cage, in a ring, and outside in the street, also it's very different. How you should deal with it. In cage, you take into consideration different things. Again, because of safety, referees, and all other things.
Yeah.
Outside streets, it's such a big terrain to explore and understand how to handle yourself, because usually the attacker will feel more confident than you, because he will, for example, come to rob you. Yep. You'll have a knife or a gun, or there'll be 2 or 3 big threatening gentlemen, not gentlemen,
yeah.
But for example, you're walking out with your girlfriend or wife, or doesn't matter. And usually people also they're also afraid, I believe, those thugs, because he won't be this small and coming at you if you're this big and try to rob you, right? Because he'll come with a knife or a gun, because he needs something to feel more confident over you. Mm-hmm. And usually when the person will see it, when you will see a knife or gun over him, it doesn't matter, anyone will get frightened. So much different pointers to pay attention to when it can be a matter of life and death in the street a lot of times. Or, of course, why am I saying? We'll get to that, exactly what is it that we're doing. But also, a lot of times there are cases that the robber will rob you and still hurt you. So those are the cases that you have no choice. You'll get hurt or try to do something.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, the way I'm understanding this, and I mean, let's face it, UFC is a business, right? And it's a sport.
It's a wonderful sport.
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously
Great.
entertaining, but it's more like a chess match when it comes to like fighting. Like the strategy, it's a strategy more than it is self-defense, right? So if somebody's coming to rob you in the street, or take your wallet or whatever, that they'll do whatever it takes to get it. I mean, maybe the person doesn't want to hurt you, but at the same time, they're willing to, right? So it's obviously life or death, like you said. So yeah, it's very interesting. I know self-defense is just something that everybody should know, because
Especially women and children.
yeah, and confidence level. I mean, obviously, especially a child when they grow up, and if,
Not to get bullied around.
exactly, I think it's very important. And a lot of people might be worried that, well, if they know this, they can hurt other kids or hurt other people or whatever. But I think that and I've been through some training. It's not exactly, you're not trained to be a weapon. You're trained. You really are trained to be disciplined, and I think discipline is really the true factor of having to get those kids to a certain level where they're just they become, I guess, more intelligent about life in general, because they're disciplined instead of just given these tools of hurting people, right?
Exactly. I can also add to that when you realize how fragile the human body is, you start to value yourself as well, because you start to be a little bit more humble, because you can hurt a person very easily if you just know, like, it doesn't take a lot. For example, the throat. I won't show or now how to hurt it, but in general about the throat, you can't train this part, for example, okay, the Adam apple. So I won't show any specific technique because it's pretty lethal.
Yeah.
But for example, that's one thing. You can really neutralize a person very easily. A lot of weak points like eyes, ears, hair, your groin, a lot of places, your knees, where to hit them, how to hit them. It's very easy to hurt a person. So even if you're a UFC champion and someone comes with a baseball bat and knocks your head off the back, sneaks up on you,
yeah.
So you're a dead UFC champion now.
Absolutely.
So we teach awareness.
Yeah.
A lot of awareness, a lot of danger, because, like I said, it's a lot more than knowing just how to fight. It's a way of perception of how you perceive your surrounding, how you read the signs, the warning signs. If you see someone's too much of a threat at the moment, you just see he's going to do something. So when is the time to react? Where is it self-defense? Where is it not self-defense? All those things are important to know.
So it has. I mean, we got a little bit off track, but all wonderful information.
There's so much to talk about.
Any challenges with building that part of your business, or that business up? Like, I mean, obviously, getting people to join must be a bit of a challenge. But is that the biggest challenge, or is there any other challenges? Or
to be honest, I'll say personally about myself. What's my challenge in this field? Every people so far came to me, I had like 100% penetration regarding. Everybody liked it. Everyone came in contact with. They liked it. They stayed. They signed up. Because I showed them a little bit from where I come from and what I teach. We'll get to that also in a second. I need to put down as a question regarding what exactly our method is, how is it excels from different kinds of methods in Krav Maga you have there out there in the world. When you have too much enthusiasm, think you can take on the whole world. That's a big mistake. Because I'm trying to do a lot of things simultaneously and expecting to have 100% success in everything. because I'm getting less rest, sleep, because I'm trying to have this business and try to succeed in this. And, you know, you remember to eat and do laundry at the same time and then other stuff as well. So that's a big mistake. You have to really plan everything better than I do. So don't do that mistake. Don't try to do everything at once. Do one thing at a time, one step at a time.
So would you say that that's probably your biggest sort of
Hold back, I would say, because people love Krav Maga. They know it. A lot of people know it. When they see it, they love it. And just more advertising, more showing it off. Because everyone who come in contact it loved it. Like I feel it. I don't get the word out enough. I don't get the word out enough.
Well, hopefully with this interview, we can definitely get more exposure, and that's the whole idea. So, is there anything that, like, is any advice you would have given yourself? And let's go back to Ecotouch for a second, and then we'll go back to the other one. So, is there any advice you would have given yourself before you started? Like, if you can go back, what advice would you have given yourself to make this process easier for you?
I would try to be more organized, plan better ahead in terms of business goals, build business orientation as well, where I am now, because sometimes you get sidetracked and you're inside the work and you're just trying to make it working. But sometimes it's not efficient anymore. So a lot of times you gotta stop yourself from everything, disconnecting, like summarize everything. Okay, where I am now, have I achieved my goals? If you don't have goals, like, let's say, okay, I need to achieve this, go for it. Like, I don't know, put a deadline or in your head or on a piece of paper and see if you're there within a certain period of time. If you're not there, you're not doing something right, change something.
Okay, so I want you to think back and tell me about a time when you're thinking like, wow, I made a big difference. Tell me about that moment.
Are you referring specifically in the business fields of those that I'm having? As a trainer, I think the most wonderful thing I think I experienced is the effect I have on people. When people look up to you as a guide, as an instructor, as a guide, someone who can relay for good advice, someone who they trust. So I think that's one of the most wonderful feelings to have. Like, you have the currency of feeling that you have an effect on people, good effect. People can rely to it. It gives you a sort of feel fulfillment that you are doing something right. So it's not just working and going home and working and going home all over again, because I think everyone should have a little bit of self-fulfillment in any kind of thing or field of where they're like in their life.
Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper, Serge. Now, let's imagine you were dropped on an island, okay? And on this island, people have no idea. Let's keep this straight to the Krav Maga. So nobody knew what Krav Maga was. Nobody knew what self-defense was. What would be the benefits of them using your services?
Holy moly! Where are you throwing me? If it's the Middle Ages, I become a king. If it's prehistory, I don't know, emperor of the world, because I'm coming to them, like they're bush people with sticks, and then I'm like, okay, I can give you tools of war, because martial arts is born of needs of war. And what I saying to those villagers or people or whoever I find, I first have to find a way to communicate with them. But let's find a way.
Let's pretend that it's in today's times. Okay, let's say that. Let's even take the island and let's make the island the GTA. What would be the benefits of people in the GTA using your services? How's that?
Perfect. Actually, I like the idea. I went far with it, actually. But even in that case, in this case, it's the security, the self-confidence that you can provide to each individual, that I know, and then unfortunately, we still live in a time where violence exists. Police and law can't have their reach in every corner. Unfortunately, there's a lot of places only few pair of eyes can see domestic violence, or kids get bullied, or you name it. I'm pretty sure anyone can guess like a lot of things in his mind. So it can give confidence, a little bit, peace in mind for the child or the woman or even the men. They have also abused men as well, because we have skinny, weak men. Because also the humans, they're fear. There's no shame of it. Everybody can be scared sometimes. Everyone wants to feel secure.
Absolutely.
So I think one of the biggest thing it can give it's the how do you say it properly in a different way? That's a feeling of being secured, or should be another word.
Self-confidence.
Maybe self-confidence. Maybe feel self-confidence walking down the street without having to be afraid of. Well, you always be afraid, but remember, there's a few kinds of fear. There's the fear that will paralyze you and make you immobilize, and you'll be like in a nightmare, and whatever next gonna be, you don't know. It's gonna be very scary. But there's another fear for your life. That there's survival fear, that you can start feeling the adrenaline pumping all over your body, and that fear can save your life. Because you're afraid somewhere back here, it will push you to your limits. So I actually did have the chance to have a few street fights for real, and I can say I was scared each time. I won each time, but it doesn't matter. But I was scared each time.
Yeah.
And everyone says he's not as scared when he's fighting, I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with him, or he's lying. Because it's a natural thing to be afraid.
Absolutely.
It's what you do with it. It's how it drives you. It's how you control it. It doesn't let it control you. So that fear can save your life. The adrenaline pumping out, and actually I can recall, and I was really faster because of it, because of that fear, because of that adrenaline. My reaction was faster. My reflexes were better because I was afraid to get hurt. So it's a really interesting moment. Well, again, big subject.
So basically, the self-confidence is probably the biggest reason why somebody should maybe enroll in your course and learn the self-defense technique. I mean, again, this is self-defense. You're not out to hurt anybody. You're just there to be able to defend yourself, just in case somebody does try to hurt you for any reason, right?
Right.
Let's change this up totally. Is there any kind of like app, like internet app or phone app that you couldn't live without?
I think maybe the internet. It's very, because the internet, we depend on it in so many ways. I don't know if it's for the better or for the worse at this point of time in our lives, but it's undeniably, it helps you in a lot of things. Like it saves you time because you don't have to leave your house, and it helps you manage all kinds of services, paying bills or monitoring things. You name it. Everyone has thousands of uses for the internet, personal use. Mm-hmm. So I would say internet is a pretty big thing. But I do like some time alone, no technology, no phones, with no one able to reach me. It gives you also a sort of peace of mind sometimes.
Some freedom.
Yeah.
For sure.
But think about it. You don't have any privacy anymore. Anyone can reach you today. Like, I don't want that. Where was the 90s?
So, is there any kind of book that you've read or quote that you live by that's helped mold you?
Wow, there's so many things. But I can honestly recall a lot of them. The moment I'm reading a book, I was really putting off for a long time. It's called The Book of Five Rings of Miyamoto Musashi. I think I'm not saying it right, but it's a legendary Japanese swordsman from a very long time. Very interesting. It's basically talking about martial arts there. It's a very interesting book. Also, it's written in a very nice way about five scrolls: earth, fire, water, wind, and emptiness. Of course, yeah, it is all own interpretations. It's very interesting. Regarding a quote, I remember actually it's from a book, but it's from a movie.
Okay.
I just remember the quote. It says that a bird will fall frozen from above without ever felt sorry for itself.
Interesting.
It says to inspire crazy army guys, but it says like don't just give it everything you got. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Just keep going forward. I can give you tons of quotes about inspirational themes as well, because I think a lot of people sometimes need it, because I feel actually, by the way, it was my first winter here in Canada, and now I understand what people were talking about, how it can get depressive. I mean, I came from Israel. We got sun all day long, all year almost. I'm like, where's the sun? I'm like asking people, where's the sun? No sun for almost half the year.
And I got to tell you, this is not a bad winter. This is nothing. We've actually had very calm winters for the last 4 years. It's just it's not how it used to be. That's for sure. I grew up here. I was born here, so. I really appreciate you joining us today, Serge. I mean, you have like I mean you brought that martial art sort of spirit back inside of me. I've always enjoyed martial arts. I did not practice that long, but that little bit I learned will stay with me a lifetime. How can our listeners get a hold of you? Like obviously for both careers. I mean, people want to wash their car while they're sitting at home or at work. How can they call you? And how can people learn that wonderful martial art?
Well, first of all, everyone can feel free to call me. I can leave my number, and I sent you 2 links for both of the website. Also, anyone can go click on it, go inside, check it out a little bit, and there's a contact form there in both websites to contact us as well. So anyone can Google it or Kijiji it or Facebook it. I'm on all of those things.
I'll make sure I have all the links to get in touch with you and to learn more, because obviously people want to learn more before they jump in and learn how to defend themselves.
Even we can pick more specific subject, because there's so much to cover up, and you can feel free. There's more things I might be happy to talk to you about. There's so many subjects. I also have philosophy. Have you ever heard about the Venus Project?
The Venus Project? No.
Wonderful topic. Check it out. I think you'll like
it. Now, does this obviously has something to do with like martial arts or self-defense, or is it no? Oh, it's not. Okay.
It's a different topic. Something entirely different. It's about a self-sustaining economy. There's a Nobel winner prize named Jack Fresco. He's 101 years old this day. He's a co-founder of the Venus Project. He actually built a live model of, with our current technology of the world, how is it possible to live without money, without poverty, war? And he offered this idea. He really got world recognition for it. Nobel Prize. It's a very smart person. The idea is very interesting, very inspiring. Of course, there's a lot of setbacks, because it's a little problematic to implement this kind of idea on the entire world, because you have a lot of obstacles like money, greed, people, power in the way.
Absolutely.
But the idea is very inspiring. I really recommend to check it out. Or even go on YouTube, say The Venus Project, it'll give you an hour movie. Very inspiring.
I'm going to look it up. And thanks for sharing it with our listeners. Again, Serge, I appreciate you being here and sharing this valuable information. And I'll have all the links for everybody to get in touch with you, your phone number, everything will be there. And again, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Owen. Thanks for having me. Have a wonderful day.